My name is Qin, currently a faculty at the Department of Computer Science at the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. My research focuses on mainly application of artificial intelligence to address biomedical issues. For this, I have applied artificial intelligence in aging, public health, and electronic health record and ecological data, quite a range of topics. For the AI Tennessee initiative, my focus is use generative AI to model human behavior in order to for more precise public health prediction. To generative AI is a new tool. Is almost like it can integrate many factors. It will allows us to predict human behavior with more accuracy. Human behavior is a complicated event, and it can be influenced by age, friends, family, occupation, weather, economy, policy, many other factors. So traditional mathematical model is hard to incorporate all this. And the generative AI is kind of a magic dice. It will absorb all this information, fit on those, and learn how to predict the event and take care of that modeling on its own. So the biggest challenge we have is first, conceptually, how to integrate those factors for the current generative AI model. And then second is also the data set. How do we get all those data set to train on human behavior prediction?
So is the problem partly a matter of quantity, big data, so to speak, and that it's just extremely time consuming and energy intensive to work on data in a manner that hopefully a successful design of AI will reduce significantly? Is that part of the objective?
That's right on the point. The current generative AI is very expensive to train, needs a lot of data. So yes, there's clearly a need to reduce the computing cost of the current generative AI, reduce number of parameters, and also maybe can learn like human learn with much less data, hopefully. Yeah.
So there's a strong machine learning component involved in your project as well.
Yes, we designed our own generative AI model, how to tokenize the human behavior data, social network. We have to come up some innovative idea how to integrate the current heterogeneous data set into the current AI models.
So part of the question then really is how to organize a huge amount of data that probably would not just be very time consuming for humans, but also impossible. Is that correct?
Very challenging. Some of the data is very challenging for human to model, use traditional method model it precisely. So. I would say both, although the motivation clearly is because of the pandemic prediction. We have seen the huge gap between the traditional mathematical model, epidemiology, how much gap it is between the real world situation. So that's the motivation. And then, but when we start to work on it, there's a lot of research gap there we also address. So I would say we try to address the real world situation, but there's also a lot of fundamental research are doing. If we can accurately model human behavior, there's really a lot of application for these kind of generative AI models, right? I apply this to epidemiological modeling, but human behavior can determine many other things. For example, voter turnout for the election down the road. So I actually want to apply that, see how the model can learn. For example, spots, uh, other thing, consumer behavior, credit card expense, sorry, so there's a wider range application if a human behavior can be modeled, I guess. Yeah. So
and one of the projects that AJ will be involved in next year, his dissertation was about automation in the car industry. It was a comparative dissertation about the car industry in Germany and in the US, including Chattanooga with Volkswagen.
nice.
And really the question of how in both countries responses to the prospect of automation are likely to play out, for example, in terms of policy. But one of the specific assignments AJ has in his postdoc in the Center on Transportation has to do with whether essentially the future of EVs, electric vehicles, as opposed to hybrids, as opposed to standard cars that run on fuel, etc. Would this be another example where if your generative AI development works out more or less as planned, that it could be deployed, so to speak, to figure out how attractive and to whom EVs actually are compared to hybrids and so forth. It's a topic that's been in the news as of late quite regularly, because there was great hope that everybody would start buying electric vehicles, and only China and Elon Musk are the two locations where real investment and development of EV technology is happening. So Europe, for example, Germany, which used to be a very strong competitor as far as cars are concerned, are really lagging behind, etc. And so being able to predict to what extent and under what circumstances and when, where, and how consumers decide to buy this type of car as opposed to another type of car as opposed to another, this would be, from the sound of it, this would be very much consistent with the kind of generative AI that you're trying to develop. Is that correct?
I agree. That's clearly the angle I haven't thought about. It's a yes. So generally, model human behavior decision clearly is applicable to many other directions, including the one you just mentioned. That's kind of a people's choice. People get to make a decision: EV, hybrid, gas SUV. All this. It is an interesting human decision-making process. I'm kind of curious, where do we find those training data, though? It does need a lot of training data for the generative AI to apply on this topic. So we are really grateful to this AI Tennessee initiative, because clearly it is really supported a graduate student who is currently working on the project. So this is really critical for the moving forward, for the project to be moving forward this way. Yeah. The risk will be mostly privacy concern, right? So we try to predict human behavior, and we have to train a lot of data related to the human behavior. And very often, even though we use simulated the data, but the privacy issue clearly is there, because we're literally tracking individual movement at the hourly scale. So that is how do we get the largest scale data for this kind of, that's a serious concern. Yeah. But the whole generative AI model is kind of a mystery. We know it works. In many cases, we trying to design guardrail outside of generative AI model. So it is, I would say there's a lot of uncertainty, unknown about how generative AI works. So yes, I think there's uncertainty and potential risk, and more fundamental research has to be done to see how we can design more explainable AI, how in that case we can actually tune the AI to work in the way we want instead of putting a guardrail outside. So my guess, if I don't do it, someone else will do it. So I think I know how to do it more properly. At least I try to align with ethical. In a way, it's almost like in the early days when we discover nuclear power, we may say there's a risk for nuclear disaster and not pursuing that direction. But we have to understand cost benefit. Once the idea is out there, there will be a lot of people trying to get it done in a way. So it's a race in a way. I wish we can at least for I hope the right people can win the race. So and the right people with good intention will win the race. Yeah. So. Well, the generative AI can be misused in many ways. So this also had its risk on its own. It can hallucinating and generate unintended consequences. So there's really a lot of risk with it. So I think with the open discussion, with talking to people from different background, different needs, it at the minimum keep us being aware of the potential risks and keep that in mind when we are designing the model. So. Oh yes, we design the model to be really tailoring to be more effective to address the social bias. Given that the traditional method, it has some challenge in there. We hope the generative AI, by learning this, we at the minimum found an alternative way to address this. So.
Okay, thank you. And the final question, which is not a direct question, it's an opening. Are there any questions that you would have liked us to ask that we did not mention in connection to the initiative and your project?
I kind of I wasn't sure about the AI tendency initiative, the overall goal, but was it just spurred by the ChatGPT, or was it some other motivation behind it? Why there's a recent AI tendency initiative? I kind of wonder what's the big picture behind it.
Yeah, the primary motivation, to my knowledge, behind it was that Lynn Parker had been walking into presidential offices. So she worked at the end of the Obama administration, then she worked for a while in the Trump administration, and then she started working in the Biden administration, and she was responsible for AI research, and decided that the state of Tennessee should play a greater role, a more explicit role as far as AI research is concerned. And so she proposed it to the universities, first to the university system, and then it was proposed to the state, and the state decided to fund it. And so, but now she retired, so we don't know, now someone else is in charge. So we don't exactly know where it will be going from here.